everybody. This is Nick Miller with Climbing the Pockets Vikings Happy Hour, or maybe since this is a quick episode, maybe call this a school shot. But anyway, hey, we signed a guard. So the Vikings finally signed Dalton Risner after bringing him in for a visit during training camp. We've seen the first 2 weeks of the season. Hasn't been great on the either pass blocking front and definitely not the run blocking front. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about what I think this means and maybe why we finally did it. So first, let's take a step back. What's the current state of the Vikings offensive line? So Ali Udoh just went down with a season-ending injury, so he's going to be put on IR probably when we make the Risner signing official. Garrett Bradbury has that back issue sprung up on him again. Christian Darrisaw tried to go the last game, but he re-aggravated his ankle injury. So the depth in the offensive line is quickly deteriorating. So, and then performance so far. I think we expect Christian Darrisaw to remain good. Ezra Cleveland has been actually pretty good at pass blocking this season. So last year he was really good run blocker. This year I think he's got about 77 grade on Pro Football Focus, and so but his run blocking is a little bit behind. We have Austin Schlottman coming in for Garrett Bradbury, and he's been okay so far. Then we have Ed Ingram, who has not been good. He's actually not taken a step forward. He was a pretty decent run blocker last year, and that has not carried over so far this year up against those impressive defensive fronts from Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. And then Brian O'Neill's been the best tackle in football so far coming off the Achilles injury. So we have some depth issues, we have some injuries, and so they decided to bring a guy in, Dalton Risner, who can play multiple positions. So in the NFL, through his 4 years so far, he's only played left guard. But in college, I think he played center and a little bit of right tackle as well. So he's got some position flexibility. So the $1 million question is, where is, or rather for Risner, the $4 million question that we signed on to, and 2.25 guaranteed for this year, 2.25 million, is where's he going to play and is he going to start? So, a lot of you have been asking, why haven't the Vikings already signed Risner? This should have happened a long time ago. So, let's look at it. We have 3 entrenched starters with Garrett Bradbury, Brian O'Neill, and Christian Darrisaw. Now we look at Ezra Cleveland. He's been a serviceable guard. I think last year he finished 8th in total PFF grade for guards due to his high run blocking skills. And he's shown nothing so far this season. I mean, we'd like to see him improve in run blocking, but that goes for the whole offensive line. His pass blocking has been solid. So it seems like his position is relatively safe. And then you have Ed Ingram. So let's talk about Ed for a second. He was a 2022 second round draft pick by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. If you look at the rest of that haul from that draft class, obviously Lewis Seen's not living up expectations. Andrew Booth isn't. Brian Asamoah's lost his job to Ivan Pace Jr. And then you had Ed Ingram and Caleb Evans. Caleb Evans is a starter. He seems to be doing well, but Ed Ingram, won the starting job last year out of training camp, and then played all last season, played every snap. And so I think you have a front office and a coaching staff that really wanted to give him, as much opportunity as possible to take that next step and prove them right on their draft selection. You'll have to think about it. I mean, your first draft, you just take it from a human nature standpoint. You invested a lot in the guy in the second round pick. You want to see him successful. You're staking your claim on it. There's some stuff from Ed Ingram's past, which, I was personally frustrated about, when the Vikings made that pick in the first place, but they decided to stick their neck out, for him. And so they wanted to see him successful. And so when you have a front office and a coaching staff that's made a heavy investment, you want to see him succeed, it takes a lot to take that guy out of the starting lineup. And so that's why up until this point, I've been pretty hesitant to say, let's just replace Ed Ingram, let's just move on. It's easy from, our perspective, because we're looking at PFF and stuff like that. But from a pride standpoint, a personality standpoint, being able to explain yourselves to the Wolves about why you made that pick and relative to the rest of the draft class, it's a tough and bold move to make. So I credit, if that is in fact what's going to happen and bring Risner in to replace Ed Ingram, I do credit Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell for making that move. That being said, it might not be Fred Ingram. We don't really know yet. So I think first we got to make sure, and Miles pointed this out on Twitter, that Dalton Risner's got to get in play shape. You can't just come in, off the street and immediately jump into play. I guess you can, but he might have some growing pains to start. And so, and you just have line continuity, from last few weeks. It might take Risner some time to figure out the playbook and what's going on there. So, at first he might come in and he might play backup. He can play backup, tackle, maybe backup guard, provide some reinforcement. But, he could come in and just take over for Ed Ingram at right guard. He could come in and potentially take over for Ezra Cleveland at left guard, and where he's played his entire career. And Ezra Cleveland can move over to right guard, which he played during his rookie year. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but that's also a possibility. So we just really don't know at this point. I would expect by Wednesday night, when we have our weekly live Vikings happy hour, that we might have a little bit more answers after some of the beat reporters go and visit practice on Wednesday. But it'll all be very interesting. Either way, reinforcements are here. The one last thing I would say is this guy was unsigned for a reason. We all know that offensive line play across the NFL can always use improvement. I think every fan base complains about the quality of their offensive line, maybe beyond, maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. So, if you had a guy that's serviceable, high quality, has had all these starts and he hasn't been signed by another team up until week 3, there's probably a reason for that. And so, I wouldn't expect Risner to come in and be the second coming of Steve Hutchinson. So just to set expectations, I think this is a good signing. I think that he came in at a decent price. He certainly will help provide some reinforcements. He could take over the starting job and add value. He's mostly a pass blocker. You think he's been in the 70s and PFF for pass blocking, and then the 50s and 60s for run blocking. So I don't know how much he'll help with our run game woes, but I think that he can come in and definitely help this offensive line. And so, we'll see how it goes. So I credit front office for making the decision. We don't really know where he'll play. I guess we'll see it as the weeks come, but you have to see now that the Vikings are doing everything they can, starting 0-2 to right the ship and move forward in the right direction. And they're not going to go quietly into the night.